Good morning, Marion. Is that better? I've done it again. I went live on YouTube with no sound. Welcome again. Thank you for joining me. I'm streaming live on YouTube and Instagram. Welcome also if you're on listening or watching on the catch up or the podcast. And thank you that for Marion, my sound engineer. I'm keeping an eye on comments as well. So please do say hi, give me some hearts. I can see I'm getting some hearts on Instagram and on YouTube as well. Welcome, Marion, and anyone else who's watching, please feel free to say hello in the comments. So I'll tell you about the talk from Tracy Borman. I'll tell you about the place it was in. Hi, Michael. Welcome. Thanks for joining. Thank you, everyone on Instagram as well, who I can see joining. Everyone's handles on Instagram are so interesting that I can't read a lot. Like I don't even know how to pronounce you, a lot of them. But anyway, you are of course more than welcome, and thank you very much. And I apologise for not being able to pronounce or read out loud a lot of the handles. I'll be like, there's lots of numbers involved and stuff. So anyway, sorry, the talk with Tracy Borman. I'll tell you more about that. I have more book recommendations to give you as well a little bit later on. I'll tell you about what's happening on Clubhouse and YouTube and other videos that are coming out, and some exciting changes to some of the things I've been doing, and also just what else I've been up to, because I seem these are really interesting each week, because it kind of summarizes for me, more books. It summarizes for me what I've been up to. You know, when you have those times where you just think, what have I actually done? And this is why we're encouraged to write diaries and things like that, I suppose. But you think, I haven't done it. I haven't got anything done this week. Anyway, these are quite helpful because they so welcome to my therapy session. Cool. Let's get started. First thing I would love to do is to give a shout out to 2 new patrons. I think Laurie, I might have given you a shout out last week. She's joined as a kind supporter, which you can do if you just enjoy the free content. You don't want to get involved in much more. On my Patreon site, you can do a £3 a month, which I'm not quite sure how much that is in dollars, just to kind of support me, to keep me going. Keep me going. But Elise as well has joined as a royal patron on a royal patronage. Pandora, Spox, where are you? Where are you? You say you're still in lockdown. Are you down under? That was awful. Sorry. Are you in Australia? Books definitely are a lockdown lifeline. So yes, Elise has joined as a royal patron. So a big shout out to her. That Melbourne. Oh yeah, you really are, aren't you? Still in lockdown. Well, I hope things get calmer soon. What we're seeing from over here, and I don't know, because obviously what we sometimes see is not necessarily what's happening. But sorry, I'm doing this because I'm trying to see above my laptop. I hope things do calm down if they are as bad as they look. So anyway, love to you, and I will tell you about some books in a moment, in a short while. So if you're interested in so on my Patreon site, basically I do lots of stuff that I don't do here or elsewhere, including blog. I got really out of the habit of blogging, and actually I love writing. I do love writing, but I do a monthly blog for that's one of the things I do for my patrons. And I've actually been right, don't judge, but the blog is lucky. Sorry, I'm reading your thing. We're lucky. We are sorry, the blog for the patrons come out today, and it's about the lost houses of Henry VIII. And so I'm still writing it, even though it's due out today. That's naughty of me, but the ideas were swimming around in my head and I didn't get them on paper. So that is what I'm doing, or electronic paper today. And do you know, one of there's a recurring theme that comes to me when dealing with the architecture, or speaking about the architecture of any historical stories. So that might be dissolution of the monasteries, I don't know, something specific like Richard III's tomb, this that I'm writing today about Henry VIII's lost palaces, is an idea of permanency that people get. And I mean, like, as humans, we must, like, we see tarmacked roads and built, yeah, huge buildings, and assume, I think, innately there's some permanency to them, and yet it doesn't take that much looking back into history to find buildings, institutions, important monuments, whatever, that no longer exist. So I'm focusing on those palaces of Henry VIII, the ones that nothing else exists. So I'm focusing on Nonsuch and Whitehall for the blog, and I'm also want to look at the half of Hampton Court, or I'm going to be looking at the half of Hampton Court Palace that no longer exists. So that's going to be the blog for patrons, and you can get the blog on the lower level tier as well. So yeah, Greenwich. So what I'm doing is looking at the ones that Henry built or had major extensions or changes to, like Hampton Court. Well, Hampton Court's a bit different. Hampton Court, I want to kind of cover the fact it was almost lost. But Greenwich was a much older palace. So, but he built Nonsuch. He didn't survive to see it completed, and of course Whitehall, which obviously began as York Place, another Wolsey, actually Diocese of York property that he took over and obviously massively expanded. Richmond, again, Joanne, is was already existing. So I'm going to focus. But yes, you're right. All of these, there's hardly any, or there's no trace or very, very little. And these are palaces. So they are the buildings of the most powerful people, the most powerful institutions of the country at the time. And then, yeah, a few hundred years later, nope, nothing. So it's interesting. We won't know, of course, what we consider permanent today. Which of that will go? What of that will go? Think about the Romans. So there's it was the fourth largest Roman city in I don't know if I want to say England or Britain, which would be England and Wales. Wroxeter, on the Shropshire. It's in a county called Shropshire. It's on the Welsh border. That was the fourth largest Roman city. Now, so imagine all that. Imagine the people. Imagine the buildings. Imagine how many people there were. Imagine the traffic coming in and out. And that you are now in the middle of the countryside, and there's again enough to know there's something there, obviously, but it's just there's very little left of it. So it's interesting. That idea of permanency just always fascinates me. Michael's a Georgian style fan. Yes, well, we have I suppose plenty of Georgian architecture as well. Pandora's Box. I don't know your first name, I'm sorry. Amazing that Hampton Court is still in the condition it is, even though it's been added to since Henry. Still an incredible place to visit. If only walls could talk. Well, indeed. Absolutely. Can you imagine? And I suppose, Sonia, hi. With Hampton Court, especially, I say especially, now that it's run by a charity, of course, I suppose there's funding money for it. But yeah, it was still used with grace and favour apartments, wasn't it, until the last century, I think. And interestingly, I think Charles has mentioned Hampton Court in when he was talking about his plans for ideas for what would happen when he becomes king. And he's not going to be living at Buckingham Palace, apparently, but he doesn't want Buckingham Palace to turn into a Hampton Court Palace. So, yeah. Do you know where the word palace comes from? I'm learning all the time, probably because I'm reading. Part of my problem is I'm reading about 5 books at the same time, and I can't remember what I get from each of them. But the word palace should only apply to the principal residence of the monarch. So there should only be one palace at a time. And it comes from the Palatine in Rome, Palatine Hill, where the Roman emperors resided. If anyone's been to Rome and seen the Palatine, pretty incredible. But that's the root of that word. And there should only be one palace at a time, which obviously now isn't the case. So there you go. So there you go. There's interesting. It's all interlinked. It's all interlinked. I've got a couple of videos coming out. I just literally haven't rendered them and uploaded them yet. One is how Richard II lost his throne. So it's about 10 minutes, that one, which I'll take you on a tour of, of the history of Richard II. So Richard II is, you'll have seen, if he doesn't come immediately to mind, you will have seen his portrait. He's actually, if you've been to Westminster Abbey, his portrait, I'm presuming it's a similar place, I remember it being on the right as you went in, the boy king who stood up to the peasants' revolt. But it all went a little bit pear-shaped after that. I mean, there's ideas of grandeur, God complex, whatever you want to attach to this man. He had it, and that didn't work out well. And he was forced to abdicate, and in favour of Henry Bolingbroke, who became Henry IV. Dangerous precedents, of course, set there for anyone with royal blood could depose, take over from an anointed king. Now, Henry IV, father of Henry V, warrior king, no problem. His son, Henry VI, of course, we begin with the Wars of the Roses, as he has looked at honours and suitable king material. So anyway, that video will be out very soon. And also I've done one about Mary I coming to the throne. So there's those. I'll do one about King John's death, because that anniversary is coming up soon as well. And and the regicides, the executions of the regicides who had signed the death warrant of Charles I. Who'd signed the death warrant of Charles I. They were put to death by Charles II when the monarchy was restored, and those executions began around this time in 1660. So there should be a video coming out about that as well. All of those as well will be available on the podcast. The audio versions will be available on the podcast, as are most of my videos. So yes. Oh, Marion says that the Georgian style is what Americans would refer to as Federalist style. So yeah, I like it, the symmetry. I do like the symmetry. Ooh, lovely balance there. You're so welcome, Sonia. Thank you so much. Well, as if people still watch and enjoy and get something from what I do, then that's cool. So yes, especially and I don't start touring again until next May. So I am very grateful for your support, and obviously always like to give a shout out to my patrons, because they're actually helping me financially. So thank you, John. Welcome. Good morning. I hope this is a good start to your morning. Hi, Barbara. How are you? Barbara's lovely. Barbara's been on tours with me, coming on tours, more tours with me next year. Can't wait to get started again. Can't wait to see you. It's going to be fabulous. Really, really can't wait. And lining up lots of cool stuff. We've got dressing up as Tudors next year. We have more speakers. It's going to be very, very fun. Let me tell you about my Tracy Borman thing, and then I'll tell you some of the changes that are coming, which you might be interested in. I know a few of you. Oh, Barbara said she can't wait either. I know a lot of you already follow on Instagram and Facebook, and Clubhouse. So I've got a couple of changes from Clubhouse. I always tell you what we've been talking about on Clubhouse, but you're actually going to be able to access some of those talks, and I'll explain. I'll explain more in a minute. It'll make more sense. But let me tell you about the talk that I went to with Tracy. So Tracy Borman, who is going to be speaking on at least 2, perhaps all 3 of my tours next year. Such a lovely human being, as well as a great historian. She's the co-curator. I haven't had a lunchtime drink, I promise, at Historic Royal Palaces, along with Lucy Worsley. And she has a book coming out really soon, like within the next couple of weeks, I think. Or it might be the end of this month. We're on the 7th now. About the monarchy and the changes, the transitions of power, as far as I understand it. The reason I'm laughing is because I intended to do, I was going to do a video series about that, and I got so far, and then anyway, and then I thought, oh no, Tracy's gonna do it. Tracy's gonna do it, and anyway, I'm gonna leave it definitely to Tracy to do that, because I have a different series coming out next year, which I will begin to tell you about. I think I've already mentioned a couple of things, but I will tell you more detail about that as it gets closer, and as I do it. So she was talking about female queens. So it was ostensibly about Anne Boleyn, but she spoke about all of the queens regnant that we've had as well. Yeah, John loves her book. So I've got a couple of books. It's going to be her books that I'm recommended. And also I've got one for a giveaway as well, for which I haven't thought of the detail yet, but there will be a giveaway that she signed me a book. We are just going to have to read Tracy's book. What's the title? Good question. Can't remember. I will let you know, because I can't remember what it is. She is going to come onto a Clubhouse room with us at the end of the month to talk about it as well. And she's also going to, I'm going to do a podcast with her, probably within the next 3 months. Yeah, just Google it. Sorry, Sonia. I'm going to be doing a podcast with her as well in the next few months, talking about the female monarchs. only really because I want a topic, and we can't talk about all of the monarchs. But it is interesting because female monarchy, it pushed legal boundaries, social boundaries, I suppose. It took, if you just look at the principle of it, it took something that was supposedly an absolute, women can't rule, or women are always subservient to their husbands. Not now. Then that starts to be, that has to be, by virtue, challenged. So I can't remember if I talked about this last week. Sorry, Amanda. A mad journalist. I wonder why you call you Amanda, because it looks like Amanda to me when it comes up. I have to say, I enjoy Tea Time History Chat so much that my week kind of feels wrong if we skip it. Oh, it's so cozy and relaxing, and I learn new history tidbits. And last night's was a proper good one. I'll talk about last night's as well. Yes, in a moment. Yes, good prompt. So female rule challenges, and I think it challenges us now as well, because evidently, when it came to it, people did accept women's rule. Ridiculous book, John, indeed. The Monstrous Regiment of Women. And of course, there were people, of course, who would say, well, women they literally don't have the brain power. By the way, that was also something said about women driving, and probably women doing other things, I don't know. But, just because one person said it, I'm not going to extrapolate that out to a whole population. And I'll tell you the reason why. Oh, thank you, Sonia. It's called Crown and Sceptre, A New History of the British Monarchy. Thank you. And I'll tell you why. It's because there's a woman in every household. And I can't think that women didn't put their foot down in the way that that they anyway, that's not the point of what I was saying. Interestingly with Mary the First, so we talked about Mary the First because on hi Janice, when so yes, Friday, last Friday on Clubhouse, we discussed Mary the First because it was the anniversary of her coronation, which is also why obviously I'll have the video coming out soon as well. And so she was crowned in, was it 1553? Eleanor Roosevelt said, "Behind every great man is a great woman." Yeah, there's a song about that as well now, isn't there? There's a song about that. Oh, Eleanor Roosevelt is like there's loads of sayings I see, poignant sayings down to Eleanor Roosevelt. Yeah, sorry. So Mary the First is crowned. So she's accepted obviously as queen. She's bothered by the fact that she's still illegitimate and gets an act of parliament to sort that out. And but it is assumed she will marry and she needs to marry quickly. Well, Mary, older accounts say that Mary wasn't up for being married because she was put off by sex. But that seems to have dropped out. So I've got some older history books, which in themselves, the way they're written is fascinating. But that seems to have been dropped from more modern interpretations of Mary's story, I feel. But there was still this question, well, what happens if our monarch is a female and she's married, because women are always subservient, wives, sorry, are subservient to their husbands. What happens? And so there was a marriage, there was a treaty basically drawn up, which was an agreement, almost like I suppose like a prenup. Michael, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So this treaty was drawn. Basically, she wasn't going. The agreement was she wouldn't leave the country. England wouldn't get involved in Spanish wars, and Philip had no claim to the throne once Mary died. And that was put in. And at their wedding, he was on her left. Now, if you get married now, the man's stood there waiting for you at the right, on the right, and as a woman, unless you're a man, of course, and you're stood there. Sorry, I'm saying this as if everyone watching this is a woman, and you were on the left. Anyway, so Philip would, when they got married at Winchester Cathedral the year after she was crowned, he was on her left, and he's on her left on a medal that was struck as well. So anyway, that's what I think it's a very interesting topic. So Tracy was talking about Anne Boleyn. She was talking about Mary. She went on to talk about Anne. So it went to Mary II first, who was joint monarch with her husband William III. Wasn't interested in. She didn't actually want that responsibility of being a monarch. Her sister Anne. She embraced it far more, actually. Anne was more involved in the day-to-day running of Parliament and the council than possibly any other monarch. She was quite hands-on. She was also very opinionated. And next week, I am going down to Blenheim Palace to record a podcast with the curator there about Sarah Churchill, who many of you will know is the first favourite of Anne, and it was insinuated that they had some sort of love relationship. Well, from the accounts, if it was, I don't think that there's very little evidence for it. That's more of a slander at the time. But anyway, we're going to be talking about Sarah Churchill, so that will be available soon as well. I'll let you know. But Tracy's talk. Sorry, no, let me finish. Anne And then, of course, we have our current queen. Anne, though, interestingly, Queen Anne, referred back to Queen Elizabeth. Because she was going to be a female monarch in her own right, she did not infer powers on her husband. So she would refer back to the Gloriana period of Elizabeth I, and she would kind of try and put herself on an even keel with Elizabeth, which I thought was quite interesting. Probably did Elizabeth's reputation very well, a bit of a boost 100 years on. So it's really interesting. So I want to get into that kind of thing with Tracy, and especially where we know the queens referred to each other, obviously not forward, but backward, where queens have referred to each other. I think that would be quite fascinating. Sonia, I've always wondered what Elizabeth thought about her mother's demise, whether she even harboured any secret ill will towards her father or not. I think we'll never know, because you can never know, even with somebody who you know alive today, exactly what they think about something. Well, I suppose some people do, but some people wear their heart on their sleeves, but actually it's quite rare. But anyway, that's Elizabeth to me seemed to be very she would evoke the memory of her father when it was expedient to do so. And I talked about this in my video about Henry VIII's tomb, or lack of tomb. She was on the throne for over 40 years, and she didn't have a tomb erected to her father, neither to her mother either. I think Elizabeth was clever. She knew what sleeping dogs to let lie. Yeah, I think. I mean, so Tracy referred to the checkers ring, which is the ring I spoke about last week, because it's going to be on show at the British Library, and I'm going to go and see that exhibition in November. And the checkers ring is going to be on display, which is very exciting because it hardly ever comes out for us plebs to see. And but this ring was a locket ring, and Tracy referred to it, and she just said it's a portrait of Elizabeth and a portrait of her mother, Anne Boleyn. She didn't have any question that the other woman in the checkers ring is Anne Boleyn. She obviously takes it that she is, and actually we've had discussions about this on Clubhouse and whatever, and who else really is it going to be? You know, yes, okay, we can't say 100% because we don't have a receipt for ring with portrait of Anne Boleyn in it, but seriously, anyway. So she a lot of her closest people around her were descendants, or of her aunt. So they were all kin from the Boleyn side. She used her mother's badge, the falcon. So yeah, I think she had respect for her father. Beyond that, who knows? But she definitely evoked memories of her. She had, I don't know. Not, she evidently was not going to just dismiss her mother's memory, though. Absolutely not. So you can read into that what you will. But at the place that Tracy did her talk, St. John the Baptist in Cirencester, that church, which is incredible in itself, hadn't got a clue before I went. The monastic paintings on the walls, anyway, incredible. But it also holds the Anne Boleyn Cup. Sounds like a horse racing or Hey, hi Orlando, or a sporting tournament cup. But no, so this Anne Boleyn cup, and if you have a look on my Instagram, if you haven't seen it already, I've put a post on about the Anne Boleyn cup, and it looks gold. I think it's gilt. I don't know, but it's very shiny, and on the top is the falcon, so Anne Boleyn's falcon, and it was apparently made in 1535. So this is the year before Anne Boleyn was executed. One of the happiest times, I would have said. All Sarah's just joined. So 1535 is the year of the summer progress, the long summer progress where Anne got pregnant for the final time, and Sarah and I are doing a tour following in part of that progress next September. And so this cup is made in 1535, and it's passed somehow to Elizabeth. I'm not sure how, whether, but anyway, it gets to Elizabeth. And she apparently gives it to a man whose name I can't remember now, who had attended on the court, and I can't find a reference to him, so I need to keep looking. And Sarah, I might come to you to see if you know. As to how that was given, because it seems like such a precious object that either Elizabeth had many objects linked to her mother, which I don't know, but I wouldn't I didn't think that was the case, or he must have done something extremely important to Elizabeth. But that the cup then got passed down into that family, passed down that family, and eventually donated to the church. So you can see it; it's amazing. Sonia, Holbein designed a salt cellar, really beautiful one. The drawings are incredible, but I can't remember whether it was actually made or not. Yeah. So I suppose there's going to be designs. There also might be designs of things that were made that have been since lost. Lots of things were melted down in the good old 17th century, where lots of things went. Marion James, where am I? James had a beautiful monument built to his mother, Mary Queen of Scots, who he never knew. Well, yeah. Again, a little bit like Elizabeth, James evoked the memory of his mother when it suited him. He didn't come to her rescue when she was in prison. The melting down problem, yes, indeedy. Yeah, did he? So yes, he had this beautiful. He moved her body as well, because Mary Queen of Scots was actually interred in Peterborough Cathedral, and he moved her body to Westminster Abbey and had this beautiful tomb built to her. But as I spoke about last week, one of the letters that's going to be on display in the British Library in this same exhibition that the Chequers Ring is going to be on display in, Elizabeth had tried to sort of give a kind of last minute, I suppose, options. Well, if we do this, this, and this, and this, then maybe we can get out of this horrible situation we've found ourselves in. James, by this point, is 18, and he is ruling in his own right up in Scotland. And one of the stipulations in this was that, well, there was a couple that affected him. He was going to be joint ruler with his mother, and that Elizabeth would have a say in who he married. And James wasn't up for that, so it didn't go anywhere. Yes, Sonia says, love the fact that Elizabeth and Mary Queen of Scots are so close in Westminster Abbey. Yes, it's one of those. It's a big irony, isn't it? Never met in life, and then they're so close, physically close in death. Yeah, very interesting. So, while we're talking about Tracy, though, and anyone who's just joined is like, we weren't talking about Tracy, but the reason this discussion began is because I was talking about Tracy Borman's talk that I went to on Saturday night at St John the Baptist in Cirencester, and they hold this Anne Boleyn Cup, which is what started all of that off. Anyway, she has quite a few books out, but I got two, one for myself and one for a giveaway, which I haven't sorted out the details of, but I will let you know. The first one, starting to go into the Jacobean period now, and I've seen Deb has joined. So, and Deb is Tudor times, and she writes on the Jacobean period as well as the Tudor period. Anyway, this is about witches. James I, he had a big thing about witches. So anyway, so I'm going to be reading this book, learning lots. Actually, it's packed with like little tidbits that you like, oh, didn't know that. Anyway, that one's mine, but I would recommend it. So that's Witches, James I and the English Witch Hunters. And the one that I'm going to be giving away, and I don't want to break the spine, but Tracy has kindly signed it, is Private Lives of the Tudors. So I will be letting you know about how you can win that when I've sorted out what I'm going to do with it. So that was awesome. It was lovely to meet her, and like I say, she's going to be coming on tour. She's coming on the On Progress tour that Sarah and I are doing together. She'll be on the Anne Boleyn tour in May, and probably, although we still need to sort out the time, be on the Life and Times of Elizabeth I tour in July as well, of which there is 2 spaces left. So if you think you might want to come on the tour, please check out that tour on my website, which is just britishhistorytours.com. And there are 4 spaces left on the On Progress tour for next September. So we're really close to shutting booking now. Before I leave you to your day, let me tell you about a few changes. So I always talk about what we've been, or give you a little bit of an overview about what we've been talking about on Clubhouse. And I know many of you join us there, and it's fabulous. Thank you so much. I love Clubhouse because it is live. It's just audio. So you don't even want to know what we look like when we're off camera. But it's and I do like the fact that it doesn't get recorded, because it's a live conversation, and it's be there or be square. However, we have decided to move a couple of rooms from Clubhouse onto Instagram and do them live still, but then they'll be there ready for playback. So the History After Dark room, which has now been on Instagram for 2 weeks, so last night and last Wednesday, that's always at 8:15 on a Wednesday night. And History After Dark is where, as Dr. Kat, who's got the Reading the Past amazing channel on YouTube, says, it gets a little bit spicy, and it does in all ways. Some is humorous, it gets humorous spice, some is controversial spice, and some is disgusting. So it depends on what we're talking about. So last night we were discussing the ethics of exhibition, sparked off by a dinner and dissection, or it's called dissection over dinner. Anyway, it's pretty much exactly what it says on the tin. So it's an evening entertainment dissecting not real bodies, but things, organs, whatever, to understand different conditions. And one of the exhibitions part of the exhibition this year, or part of this entertainment, which is where the issue comes, is it entertainment or is it educational, is a body, a recreated body of Merrick, what's his first name? The Elephant Man. So we were discussing, well, is that ethical? Because this man is a named man. We're not talking about someone with the condition. They've actually named him, but it's all Victorian medicine. So it's all looking at the body from the Victorian understanding of how the body works. So Sonia says both education and entertainment. And actually I thought I'd be more offended by it than I was, because when I looked into it, a lot of it's basically aimed at students of John Merrick. Thank you, Marion. It's aimed at students of medicine and things like that. But anyway, it sparked off a whole discussion. I think we did, it's supposed to be an hour. I think we were on for an hour and 20. So thank you for anyone who stuck with us. But that's available on Dr. Kat's Instagram still. So that will be there. What we're doing is rotating which whose profile it's on. So last week, History After Dark was recorded on my profile. Yesterday was Dr. Cat. Next week, thanks, John. Yes, I saw you joined. Thanks, Jem. Next week will be on the Tudor Tracker, so Catherine's profile. And then the week after that, it'll be back on mine. We're also going to create a podcast from it. So if you like podcasts, if you like absorbing your content on podcasts, then you'll be happy to know that we're going to convert that one into a podcast as well. So again, I will let you know the details when all of that happens. The other room that we're moving from Clubhouse onto Instagram is the Travelling Tudor Britain room. Now, this is, well, we think this is a great one for on Instagram. I do this with Sarah, the Tudor Travel Guide, and Deb from Tudor Times, and we discuss different places. And actually, what we're going to do is move it to a Friday. It has been on a Sunday, but we're going to move it to a Friday at 4 o'clock on Instagram. Like I say, again, we'll rotate whose channel it is on, but we will all share. I've got flying in my face. Sorry. We will all share what's coming up kind of thing, so you can see whose channel it will be on. But yeah, we're moving that from a Sunday to a Friday at 4 o'clock. So if you are really dedicated, you can watch Travelling Tudor Britain on Instagram at 4 o'clock. This is all London time, so please sort of work it out for yourself what it would be in your time. And then Clubhouse at 5 o'clock. That is the back to being the Tudor History Club History Half Hour, which is never half hour. It's a bit of a running joke. Yes, Doug, I can now watch the F1 on a Sunday. Yes. Although hopefully I won't clash with practice. But anyway, better than clashing with the race. Janice says it's good to be able to catch up if you miss it. Absolutely. And Joanne uses podcasts to catch up as well. That's the thinking as well. Is these rooms, we have really interesting discussions, and I think we're doing it in a different, dare I say it, in a different way to what's been done elsewhere, because it is off the cuff. If you join us on Instagram Live, and you can comment and ask questions and stuff in the comments, of course, as well as we go through, so it's interactive. So yeah, so they're the changes. So History After Dark will be on Instagram at 8:15 every Wednesday, and Travelling Tudor Britain will be on Instagram at 4 o'clock every Friday. And then the remaining Clubhouse rooms are Mondays and Fridays at 5 o'clock. And there's also a Tudor Royals Clubhouse room on Thursdays at 8:15. So if you didn't get any of that and write it all down, sign up to my newsletter, because it's on the bottom of that newsletter every week, so to remind you of what's happening. But that's quite exciting. I think the fact that people can catch up again when they've missed it, I think will be good. The Travelling Tudor Britain room, so we're doing it for the first time tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and we'd love you to join us, because we want a bit of feedback. Actually, what is it about Travelling Tudor Britain that actually interests you? Is it the stories that come out about the people and the events that happened at these places, or is it the place itself, the architecture, the decoration, and then the logistics of visiting? What is it that actually interests you the most? Because we want to, now we've done it for a while, we want to we want to make it so it's as relevant and as interesting to the audience as possible. So if you're around at 4 o'clock, please join us tomorrow. That would be fun. Cool. I think that's all I was going to talk to you about today. It's 45 minutes of your time, so thank you so much for joining me. If you're interested in getting more in depth into history with me, then please do think about coming and joining me over on Patreon. It's patreon.com/British history. And of course, if you're interested in coming on a tour, please look at BritishHistoryTours.com. Even if it's not in the near future. If you sign up to my newsletter, then you will get the information about new tours. And in fact, you get 7 days to book onto a new tour before they go live to everyone else, which this year meant that some of them actually aren't available by the time they went on general release. But that is the way. That is what happens. Janice, thank you. She says both important to put stories in the context. But that's really helpful to know that those stories in situ is the bit that's interesting. That's really good to know. Thank you. So yes, so hopefully see you all very soon. If not, I will see you next week. Next week, like I say, I'm actually at Blenheim Palace. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this Thursday Tea Time Live. Excuse me. But I will do it somehow. It'll be a bit like when I was at Hampton Court Palace. I will go live as close to 1 o'clock as I can. It will only be on Instagram though. So please join me on Instagram. If you can't join me live, or you're not on Instagram and you only ever watch on YouTube, I will upload it as soon as I can to YouTube as well. And obviously it'll be on the podcast. So thank you everyone for joining me. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I will see you next week, or maybe in the meantime, I will see you elsewhere. Sonia, at the moment, it is 10 to 2 in the afternoon. You must be very late or very early where you are. I'm trying to work that out in my head. So maybe good night. I'm not sure. To Sonia. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, everyone. Hi, and bye, because we're just wrapping up. But 1 o'clock, you can find me here. I'm going to say every week, and then caveat that with next week I'm out on location, so it'll be as close to 1 o'clock as I possibly can. But thank you ever so much, everybody. Have a fabulous day, and I will see you very soon. Bye.